Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. You know, I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, you know, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever we want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org as a little incentive for joining us. Here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal. We know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting. Again, you can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look! Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
President Obama at the United Nations asking their support this morning for a resolution to get Syria to give up all of its chemical weapons. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Great to see you today. Here we go on the Bill Press Show this Tuesday. Wow, Tuesday, September 24. So good to see you today. Thank you for joining us here on your local progressive talk radio station anywhere in this great country. We are there for you for the next 3 hours to let you know what's going on here in Washington, D.C. Not too much with Congress out of town and the president out of town, but such as it is, we'll bring you up to date on that. What's going on around the country, around the world. It looks like they finally may be closing in on the remaining terrorists in that mall down in Nairobi. Boy, what a horrible situation that has been. Lots to talk about today. Lots you're going to want to chime in on. And, of course, we will tell you what's going on. You tell us what it all means to you. That's the fun of our town hall. And you can do so by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. You can do so by joining us on Twitter, sending your comments on Twitter at BP Show. Our Twitter people are watching Twitter all day long to get your comments, all during the show. And on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Bill Press Show. So, again, good to see you today, and thank you for joining the team, such as we are. Peter Ogburn here, running the entire operation.
Doing what I can, sir.
How many?
I'm giving it all she's got, Captain.
Wearing 4 or 5 hats this morning. Dan Henning's got the week off. Not sure where he is or what he's up to, or whether this is a legitimate time off.
Who knows?
We're going to have to check the record.
Who even knows?
Alicia Cruz, she's here on the phones waiting to take your phone calls. And if we're looking good, oh, by the way, of course, in addition to being a morning radio show on your morning progressive talk radio station, we are also on Free Speech TV. Glad to be there. You can find us on your satellite dish at DirecTV or on the Dish Network And you can watch the show, streaming the show at TawkrTV. Go to youtube.com/Tawkr, TAWKR, TawkrTV. And Cyprian Bolding has got the video cams operating, we think. I mean, I haven't looked yet this morning. But
he's got his hands full. I think he's got it under control, though.
If we're not looking so good this morning, blame Cyprian.
Blame Cyprian.
Right, exactly.
That's a good rule of thumb. Always blame Cyprian.
So the Vice President, President Obama at the United Nations yesterday, and the Vice President, he went out to Colorado to survey the damage from that just horrendous flooding out there. I mean, just unbelievable video of these rivers just raging out of control. Now things are kind of quieted down. The Vice President went out yesterday, and the first thing he told these people was, look, everybody's worried about a government shutdown, but if there is a shutdown, you're still going to be okay.
None of the federal assistance that we're providing, none of it is going to be impacted, even if there is a government shutdown.
And if they manage to shut everything else down, Vice President Joe says FEMA will still be there and still be on the job.
Once all the news conferences are over, FEMA and the Red Cross are still going to be here till we make you whole, till we make it right for you.
And FEMA will deliver the goods as they have. Good for Vice President Biden. And again, our hearts go out to our good friends in Colorado. So many in that area listening to this program who have been hammered. Everybody hard hit, but some people, particularly those cut off from their homes or lost their homes. And this now's the time to rebuild. And Joe Biden saying all the help we can give will be there. This morning, Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post will be with us, as well as Igor Volsky from the Center for American Progress. Well, also, Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategist will be here a little bit later as a friend of Bill, and we'll be joined by Congressman David Cicilline from Providence, Rhode Island, and the one and only Senator Bernie Sanders from the state of Vermont. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. A couple of other stories making news. Another baseball team makes the playoffs while another's quest ends. Congratulations to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who did what they needed to do last night and beat the Chicago Cubs. That put them one step away from the playoffs. All they needed was for the Washington Nationals to lose to the St. Louis Cardinals, which
of course they did.
They did by a score of 4-3. That meant that the Pirates moved up. They made their way into the playoffs for the first time in 21 years, and the Washington Nationals do not make the playoffs. They have been eliminated from the playoff hunt.
I have a feeling the Pirates are going to be the sweetheart team in this.
They've been consistent. A lot of teams sort of start and stop, but they've been pretty good all throughout the season, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare. The Smithsonian is set to welcome a couple of new guests. One of the greatest exhibits at the Smithsonian American History Museum right there on the National Mall is Kermit the Frog. And Kermit is about to be joined by his love, Miss Piggy.
No, really?
Cheryl Henson, the daughter of Muppets creator Jim Henson, is donating several puppets to the Smithsonian from her father's collection, including Miss Piggy and my favorite, the Swedish Chef from the Muppet Show. Yes, Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street will also be joining, along with Boober Fraggle and Traveling Matt from Fraggle Rock.
Wow.
A lot of old favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Boy. You know, my favorite part of that museum is the Julia Child
It's a
kitchen.
great part. They've redone the whole... we went there not that long ago, and they've redone that whole Julia Child area.
I know. I've been there since they've redone it, but now the Muppets may outdraw her.
I love the Muppets.
Yeah.
I love the Muppets.
That's cool.
And the end of an era for Disney park goers.
Linda Ronstadt performed with the Muppets.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I was talking to her about it on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
She loves it.
It's the end of an era for Disney park goers. Disney tried to do the right thing. They created a system for disabled patrons to skip the long lines on attractions and go through a backdoor system to avoid waiting. Sadly, that system was abused, and Disney has announced that they are ending the program. People who were not disabled would rent a motorized wheelchair from the park just to say that they were disabled, which then allowed them to jump ahead of all the lines on all the rides. And because of that abuse, the parks will now offer disabled park goers a pass that allows them to come back at a predetermined time, but they can no longer automatically skip the crowds. This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. No, you know what that's like? That's like people who park in a handicapped parking space.
It is. Yeah, it is. And having worked there, they abuse the system. You just say, I need a motorized wheelchair, and then they give you one.
Yeah. But, people park in a handicap and then limp away. Or something
That's right.
Like that,
That's
right?
exactly what it is.
Well, I got to tell you, pardon me. Speaking of, all right, I'm not even going to try to make a transition from that. Let's just say, with Congress, because anything I say would be offensive. And God forbid I say anything that would be offensive about anybody, except Ted Cruz, dumbass. So let's start right there. Yes, the House and the Senate will be back in town tomorrow officially. And, of course, the first order of business is the fact that the government's going to shut down September 30. That's only 6 days away, folks. Government will shut down September 30 unless the Congress passes a budget or at least a continuing resolution to keep things going. And Republicans, as you know, in the House have lined up to say, okay, we don't care. We're going to shut the whole damn thing down unless we can take all the money away from Obamacare, or to put it another way, we'll shut it down if Obamacare still has money in it. We'd rather shut the government down than continue with Obamacare. The House Republicans, the Tea Party in the House, which are ruling the House, not John Boehner, they're in charge. He's not. They have, of course, pushed that through the House. Now it's the question is in front of the Senate, where one by one, all senators, just about every senator has stood up to say, we're not going to go along with the House. This doesn't make any sense. We will not shut the government down over Obamacare because, as a matter of fact, Obamacare is doing some great things and is going to get even better. That's what almost everybody in the Senate is saying, except for two senators, Mike Lee from Utah and, of course, Ted Cruz from Texas. He's the one I want to talk about this morning. Ted Cruz, get your take on him at 866-55-PRESS. I mean, this guy, we have not seen a bull in a china shop like Ted Cruz for a long time in the Senate, because unlike Hillary Clinton, unlike Al Franken, unlike Elizabeth Warren, I mean, this is not a guy who came in, keeps his head down, does his job, workhorse, not a show horse, gets to know people, gets to know the ropes, and then steps up. Ted Cruz has been in your face from day one, and he has become the most hated man in the United States Senate, especially by his fellow Republicans. He's sort of like the Christine O'Donnell, if you remember her from Delaware, the witch, right? It was
I'm not a witch.
I'm not a witch.
I'm you.
Yes. So it was so crazy. Well, Ted Cruz is as crazy as she was, except he managed to get elected. So here's Ted Cruz the other day saying that he is even willing to filibuster, if necessary, to stop Obamacare.
I will do everything necessary and anything possible to defund Obamacare.
A filibuster?
Filibuster?
Yes, and anything else.
Right. And he said, with that.
I love that. Yes, and anything else. What exactly does that mean?
God, who knows? I mean, in that whiny, snotty little voice of his, it sounds like a sixth grader or something, or a 6-year-old. He says, come on, all you Republicans, line up behind me.
This is a moment for Republicans to unite, for every Senate Republican to stand shoulder to shoulder with the gentleman here and the Republicans in the House who have been courageous doing the right thing.
By the way, the gentleman here, he's talking about himself, right? That's what he calls him. The gentleman here. It's time for every Republicans to line up behind me. Well, you know what? When he turns around to see who's lined up behind him, there ain't nobody except, again, maybe Mike Lee, except not even Mike Lee is as crazy as he is. So the whole thing about Ted Cruz got a lot of additional attention yesterday because there's a profile of Ted Cruz, which he was interviewed for, was willing to be interviewed for. I mean, he went along with this. He loves it, in GQ magazine, where, among other things, it talks about this, not just a rivalry with, this is not a rivalry, with his fellow Republican senators. This is warfare. Yeah, this is open hostility. John McCain called Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, you may remember, wacko birds. Ted Cruz has called people like John McCain squishes and members of the Surrender Caucus. In this GQ magazine article, a top aide to John McCain told Chris Buck, that's the Jason Zengerle who wrote the article, that speaking of McCain, he said he effing hates Cruz. Quote, he effing hates Cruz. It talks in the
that's not exactly sugarcoating it.
Not exactly sugar, right? Exactly. Says about when Cruz, just to show you what a snot he is, right? When he was in Harvard Law School, he's so, and this guy came from very humble beginnings, but he quickly thinks so much of himself. When he was at Harvard Law School, he would refuse to study with anybody who did not graduate from Harvard, Yale, or Princeton. He wouldn't have anything to do with any of his fellow students who did not graduate from Harvard Law or Princeton. Yeah, this elite Texan here with his cowboy boots, right?
If you were to write a character in a movie who is the typical stuck-up, unlikable bad guy, it would be the kind of guy who would say, like, I won't study with anyone else who didn't go to Harvard or Yale.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, jerk.
He also told Jason Zengerle, the author of this piece in GQ, that he does not know any conservative who was not embarrassed to vote in 2008. Now ask yourself, who was the Republican presidential nominee in 2008? Boy, that's just going to make the hatred there and the hostility even worse. And Richard Burr from North Carolina, in terms of Ted Cruz calling on his fellow Republicans to stand up and shut down the government unless they defund Obamacare, Richard Burr, conservative Republican from North Carolina, called that, quote, the dumbest idea I have ever heard. This is Ted Cruz. You've seen him. You've seen him on the stage now. What do you think? 866-55-PRESS. And by the way, alongside of Rand Paul, who looks like a statesman compared to Ted Cruz, alongside of Rand Paul, Ted Cruz is being talked about as the most likely Republican presidential nominee for 2016. This is where they want to take the party? Really? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about Ted Cruz this Tuesday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Hey, friends and neighbors, I hope you're enjoying the show today. And, of course, foreign policy is dominating the news these days, with the president very engaged, first of all, in trying to pursue this possibility of a deal with Syria and with Russia, whereby Syria would turn over its chemical weapons and they could be all destroyed by the middle of next year, 2014. At the same time, the president looking at the possibility of an opening with Iran where we would lift the sanctions if Iran would abandon its push for a nuclear weapons program. Those two things would be huge victories for President Obama. That if he's able to achieve those two things, some kind of an agreement with Syria, which would also lead to the end of the civil war in Syria, and then some kind of agreement with Iran in addition to ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, President Obama will deserve that Nobel Peace Prize that he won his first year. News on that's the kind of independent, truthful, transparent reporting you get here on Free Speech TV. We're really proud to be part of that. But of course, we need your help to keep bringing this kind of independent news to you. Free Speech gets no money from any corporations, no corporate advertising, no money from any government agencies, no money from any political parties. We depend on you, our viewers, to keep us on the air. And we ask you to be as generous as you can. Go to give us a call at 877-378-8669 and give your pledge, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to freespeech.org. And as a special gift to you for helping us out, if you're able to give us $120 a year, that's only $10 a month. We'll give you a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio and left-wing talk radio, progressive talk radio, and why the conservatives have been able to dominate talk radio so far, what liberals have to do to get really in the game. If you can help us at $240 a year, that's $20 a month, a copy of Toxic Talk, and my next book, How the Republicans Stole Religion, all about the religious right, how they distorted the message of the gospel and pretend that they're the ones who own religion, and also showing you that God is the real number one liberal. And for $360 a month for this a year, $30 a month, copy of these two, plus my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and how they dominate American politics. So please help us out here at Free Speech TV. Proud to be part of the lineup and depend on your help. Thank you so much for keeping us on the air.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour. One thing President Obama should be grateful for is the fact that Ted Cruz is the one who is leading the charge against Obamacare. Ted Cruz in the Senate. And, of course, it's the Tea Party in the House, because with a guy like Ted Cruz in charge, you can be pretty sure it's never going to work. But what they do is they're just going around, starting with Ted Cruz, telling lies about Obamacare and the impact it has had. Here, for example, is a lie that he told yesterday.
Americans all over this country are suffering because of Obamacare. It is the single biggest job killer in America.
The biggest single job. Are you kidding? If you look at every once a month, when we get the job numbers, and we've had the Secretary of Labor, formerly Hilda Solis, and now Tom Perez here in the studio with us, and you ask them, boy, the jobs are going up every month now for like 40-some months, positive job growth. Where are most of the jobs being created? In the health industry today. Why? Because more and more people are signing up through Obamacare, more and more people going to clinics, more and more people going to hospitals. They have health coverage now. It is the growth industry in this country. Obamacare is not killing jobs. Obamacare is creating jobs. And once these exchanges kick in on October 1, they're estimated another 30 million Americans who've never been able to get health insurance before will be able to get it at rates they can afford with good basic coverage. That's why people like Ted Cruz don't want it to happen. Because once those exchanges kick in, Obamacare is definitely here to stay. Kevin's up in Stratford, Connecticut, listening on the TuneIn app. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, Bill. Good to hear. Good to get on.
Thank you.
You sort of stole my thunder.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was sort of sitting here thinking how good somebody like Ted Cruz or Michelle Bachmann is for the Democratic Party, because they turn off even the conservatives of the Republican Party. And they just show the electorate how ignorant and how short-sighted that the Tea Party is. And I think in the long run, they pose a much greater threat to the Republican Party than to the Democratic Party or to the country. I think there's not a lot of people out there looking at things as starkly and as dramatically as they are.
Kevin, well said. Well said. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. They're the best friends Democrats ever had.
The Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. You know, I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, you know, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever we want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can, or you can go to freespeech.org. As a little incentive for joining us, here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal. We know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting. Again, you can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
Bill Press. Download podcasts at BillPressShow.com and listen anytime, anywhere. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. 33 minutes after the hour now. We call him Mr. Food Stamp around here. Arthur Delaney covers economic issues for the Huffington Post. He's a neighbor and a friend that joins us just about every Tuesday morning. Arthur, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
All right. Have you been out shopping with your food stamps yet this morning? No?
They run out, toward the end of the month.
That's right. That's right.
So, no.
Here we are, the 24th. I see. You're out of them now, huh? Right. I want to talk to you about that and a couple of other things. You could join us, don't forget, on our conversation anytime at 866-55-PRESS. When you were here last week, it was just before the House voted. We knew what they were just about to do on two things I want to talk to you about this morning. Obamacare, we'll get to that next, but then on food stamps. They lined up the votes and they ripped it out, right? $40 billion?
$40 billion, 5% cut. The vote was close, and all the reporters were in the gallery watching the big board where once a member votes, his name goes up in red or green. And it was close. There were 15 Republican defections, and if they had had only 5 more, that thing would have gone down, and it would have been another epic Boehner leadership snafu. But that's not what happened. It passed.
It passed. So what's this mean for the program?
This means that 4 million or so people would lose their benefits next year were this bill to become law in its entirety. But, of course, it's got to go through the Democratic Senate and the conferees, the conference committee between the two chambers. So certain parts of it really have a chance of becoming law because they'll have to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And Senate Democrats are on board with cutting food stamps a little bit.
Right.
So they'll probably give a little more.
So the gap is between $5 billion in the, as I understand it, in the Senate and $40 billion in the House.
Right.
Yeah. So somewhere in between. But the food stamp program is definitely going to be cut.
Yeah, and Democrats, I believe, think they have to sign on with a small cut at least because that will maintain public support for the program. There's no one out there except for very small minority that is not even very vocal saying, no, we ought to expand food stamps. No one is out there sticking up for the right of poor people to buy junk food or soda or crab legs at the supermarket, and that is the image in the public imagination of food stamps
that the opponents have been able to paint.
And it's extremely powerful for the simple reason that people hate waiting in line. And if you're in line behind someone with an EBT card, you don't like it because it sometimes takes longer.
I think I asked you this before. You always use this phrase, EBT card.
Electronic Benefits Transfer. That's the debit card that all food stamps are distributed on.
And so it's the EBT card for the SNAP program.
It is supposed to be discreet, but people know.
Oh.
They see that that's not a normal debit card or credit card.
Now, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro was here the day after you were last week on Wednesday, and she was telling us that there are, I think she said as many as 12 Republican Tea Party members who are leaders of the gang to either get rid of or to drastically reduce food stamps, who on the other side of the ag bill get huge ag subsidies for their farming operations.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like Stephen
Fincher of Tennessee. He and Doug LaMalfa from California are on the ag committee. And so not only supported cutting food stamps, while at the same time they each have received millions from the other side of the farm bill. They were citing the Bible in defense of not feeding the poor. And the classic line from Fincher was in response to a Democrat who said Jesus was very clear, you ought to take care of the poor people. He said, the Bible says lots of things, which of course it does. And you could find it, you could justify anything if you're going to take one little thing.
the Bible does say, the poor you shall always have with you.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bible also says, what you did to the least of these, you did to me. I was hungry.
Right.
Why didn't you feed me?
But then in Thessalonians, there is he who does not work shall not eat. So there's this one line that has really a linchpin of the conservative side of the Bible argument right now.
There's nothing like Christians who cite the Bible to support their Christian doctrine or their unchristian policies, and that's exactly what's going on.
The Bible says lots of things.
Yeah, I know the Bible says lots of things. Okay, now now they've having dealt with food stamps, they come. I mean, again, this is all in the context, as we talked last week, of the latest figures on poverty from the Census Bureau. 15% of Americans living in poverty. Right,
50 million people.
50 million people. What are Republicans going to do? We're going to put more people in poverty by, in fact, cutting that food stamp benefit will put more people in poverty. Correct?
Yeah, very potentially. It does. Part of it, one of the biggest parts of it, targets people who are at or above the actual poverty cutoff.
Right.
So potentially, those people will not cross this arbitrary threshold of like $18,000 a year for a family of 3. They'll have $18,050, and they won't officially count as poor because of the loss of income. But potentially a few million people would.
So that's one way they make it harder for the poor, or for those living at or near the poverty line. The other is they want to do away with or defund Obamacare.
Right.
Which finally, because of these health exchanges, people who have never been able to afford health insurance because they don't get it at their place of work will be able to get it. How does that work?
Well, these exchanges are going online in a week.
Yeah, a week from today, October 1. Right.
So it's there. You'll be able to go and apply for and receive a government-sanctioned private health insurance plan of some kind, and it's the cost will vary a lot depending on where you are and how old you are. But for a lot of people, it's going to be affordable insurance for the first time in their lives, because this is when it will no longer be legal for these companies to discriminate you against if you're sick.
Right. Now, what? So, and I saw last night there's a choice of plans. These are not government plans; they're private insurance plans. Are available, as you say, for the first time. There's a bronze plan, the silver, the gold, and the platinum.
Are you shopping for health insurance?
No, I have it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying I think I'm fascinated by this because there's a huge. There are two campaigns going on right now. The administration and those who support universal health insurance are trying to get the word out, and I put myself in that category, trying to get the word out to people that this opportunity is there. You've got to take advantage of it, right? Especially for young people, right? So they do offer you a choice of plans. The more expensive the plan, the more higher your premium, the lower your deductible.
Right.
But it's geared so that everybody should be able to afford one of those plans, right? And then you get your choice of doctors, choice of hospitals. Maybe not as many as you would if you had some Cadillac plan, from your place of work, but at least you do have a choice. So it's a good deal for Americans, right?
I think it will be for millions of people. That's what the Congressional Budget Office says. Tens of millions of people. Well, 20, 25, 30 million people are going to be able to get insurance now.
Right.
They had not been.
30 million is a figure that I've heard. And the rates that are being quoted now are lower than what the Congressional Budget Office predicted they would be.
There's been a little bit of a surprise. Some of the rates were lower.
Yeah.
I heard from one person who was disappointed and said she would be getting an unaffordable option in California, and she's in her early 60s and is a cancer survivor. So I think there will be a wide variety of outcomes, but you can't deny it's tens of millions of people, and this is something no one really talks about in Congress.
Right. All right. Now, but here's the other campaign that's going on. I want to find is while the administration is trying to get information out about here are the opportunities available. Opposition to Obamacare, not the crazy, not just the crazies here in Washington who are trying to shut it down, but the Koch brothers and others are spending millions of dollars trying to convince people not to buy health insurance, particularly young people, not to buy health insurance, because, of course, the more who do, the more stable Obamacare will become.
Yeah, it's a personal responsibility 2.0. It's an upgrade to the entire concept.
So I want to know when we go back whether you think young people are going to fall for that. and not buy a health insurance. It's Arthur Delaney from the Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. Your questions, your comments about either the food stamp program or what's going on with Obamacare when we come back here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news like and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so you can we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spent just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you. All right, let's make it 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. Igor Volsky from Think Progress will be here in the top of the next hour, and then we'll be joined by Congressman David Cicilline from Rhode Island about the possibilities of a government shutdown. Right now, Arthur Delaney is here from Huffington Post. Arthur also, I always got to get this straight. He is the editor of HuffPost Hill. HuffPost Hill, got it. Right.
Nailed it.
Huffington. If you go to HuffingtonPost.com, you can sign up for it, right?
That's right. HuffingtonPost.com. It's
great.
Politics.
Great little wrap up at the end of the day. Very irreverent. I love it. It comes out, and Arthur's the guy who puts that together. So.
And it has cat videos at the end, like fruit on the bottom yogurt.
Forgot.
Fantastic.
The cat videos, yes, indeed. Is there going to be a shutdown?
There might be. We're hurtling toward that possibility, aren't we?
Yeah, seems to be. I mean, I've heard different people give 50-50 or 70%, 60%.
It seems like it will be up to John Boehner because the bill the House passed with defunding Obamacare, Mitch McConnell has ceded that he's not going to filibuster that, which means Harry Reid can take out the defunding part and send it back to the House, at which time Boehner can decide if he wants to bring it to the floor or not. It would probably pass with Democratic votes if he did.
Okay. So let's get back to this question. So of young people today, people in their 20s, do you think they traditionally, they're healthy, feel great, why do I need health insurance? I never go to the doctor. I don't have to see a doctor, right? That's what the Koch brothers and others, which I think is an evil campaign, but they're attempting to undermine Obamacare by talking people out of buying health insurance.
Right, and they have a plausible sounding argument, which is that the amount you pay in premiums, you likely will not get back in health care because you're healthy.
Right, and the amount that you have to pay as a fine for not buying is less than what you would have to pay in a premium. So
right,
therefore, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is head-spinningly different from anything a Republican would have told you if you were to get personal, health care advice from a Republican like 10 years ago, 5 years ago even.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of personal responsibility. But it is true. You're probably not going to get as much care, but you don't know if you're going to get hit by a bus or come down with some weird cancer, which happened to a friend of mine who almost died.
A young person. Right.
A young person.
Or you could get MRSA, right?
Or you could get stabbed repeatedly, which happened to another guy I wrote about once.
All right. So what I want to know is, do you think, are young people today dumb enough to fall for this argument? Do you think it'll work?
Well, there's been a little bit of polling, and it was surprising. It looked like these young people were more favorable toward signing up for Obamacare than you might have expected, given the reality that it's, in dollars, not necessarily the greatest deal. And that's huge for the law, because if they don't get these healthy people who are paying premiums but not, using up too much care, the whole idea of this big health insurance risk pool that works for everybody sort of falls apart.
Yeah.
I just want to say, it's amazing you're talking about this, because no one talks about this really in the debate over defunding Obamacare and shutting down the government. The 30 million people are unmentioned collateral damage.
No, I know. Well, that's what we do on this show, Arthur. We talk about things that nobody else talks about. I mean, somebody called last week and said, I'm so glad you're talking about poverty. Nobody else is talking about the rate of poverty in this country. But seriously, I think it's important that people understand what this Republican push is all about right now in Congress. The reason they are so obsessed with it and are willing to do anything, even shut down the government, is because this is their last look. They tried to defeat Obamacare when it was going through, right? They failed. So it passed and the president signed it into law 3 years ago. Then they took it to the Supreme Court, and they failed there. This is their last shot, right?
Yeah, but
this is the last. So if these exchanges go, and not 30 million, but even 15 million people, or they say they need at least 7 million people sign up, then Obamacare is here forever and ever and ever.
It will be firmly entrenched.
Yeah.
But if you hurt yourself burning your Obamacare draft card, you're just going to be screwed.
Yeah. So your advice to young people is to go out and join these and sign up, right?
When I was a young buck in my mid-20s, I bought health insurance on the individual market. And it's aggravating to fork over money to these people in the insurance companies. But you got to do it.
And now you can get an even better deal. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. If these exchanges work, and I think they will, we're going to Social Security and Medicare and Obamacare. They're going to be the three legs of that stool, that helping Americans who need some help. You and I figured it out, Arthur. We got the message out there. Thank you. All right, you got it. See you next week. Thanks for coming in.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can, or you can go to freespeech.org as a little incentive for joining us. Here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal, we know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting again. You can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you. By Congressman David Cicilline from Rhode Island in Providence. Peter.
Yeah, a couple of quick stories from Virginia. Things are looking not so bad for Democrats there. A new poll that the Washington Post, ABT, put out yesterday shows Terry McAuliffe is in the lead in the race for governor over Ken Cuccinelli. He's leading 47 to 39%.
Yeah, he jumped
among likely voters.
Way up there. Right.
That's very good news. And then running for...
I just might point out, this is what happens when Republicans nominate the most extreme candidates. We're talking about Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Ken Cuccinelli's another one.
Ken Cuccinelli is extreme, and the guy running for Lieutenant Governor, E.W. Jackson, might be even more extreme. He referred to non-Christians as, quote, engaging in some sort of false religion. So if you're not a religion, you're just worshiping a fake god, I guess? Good luck with that, Virginia.
Yeah, I thought we've been through that before. I guess he doesn't agree with the Pope.
Guess not.
Yeah, let's have a little debate between the two of those.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Kid dropped out of school.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news like and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so you can we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books, Toxic Talk, as I told you about, and this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spend just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it costs you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified, Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
President Obama at the United Nations speaking to the General Assembly this morning, and it'll call for support for that resolution asking Syria to hand over its chemical weapons. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you on this Tuesday, September 24. It is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, the most powerful city on the planet. We're right in the heart of the action on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, bringing you up to date on what's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe, giving you a chance, of course, to tell us what it all means to you. You can do so by phone, 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number, 866-55-77-377. Twitter lines are open. I mean, Madeleine Albright might have just joined Twitter, but we've been there forever. So join us on Twitter at BP Show. Send us your comments at BP Show. Or on Facebook, all of our friends lining up on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And speaking of friend, no better friend of the program than Igor Volsky, here every Tuesday morning with us. He is the managing editor of Think Progress, thinkprogress.org. Hello, Igor.
Good morning. So happy
Everything
to be
good?
here. Everything good. I think this is the first Bill Press sweater day of the year.
I think so. I wore my fleece for the first time.
Yes,
You've got
first
a
sweater for the
on
first time. Yeah.
But it's just a little chill in the air, which is so refreshing. So, yeah, I love it. I love it. Peter's got his sweater on this morning.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
There we go.
I think Alicia does, too.
Yeah, she has a sweater, polo.
Nice.
Does Cyprian have any clothes on at all?
As usual, no. No. Okay, there he is. He's got his pants on. He's making sure we see.
He's in a little room. It gets hot. I understand.
All right, how about it? Well, President Obama was last Saturday. He was out on the golf course again, and there are some people, who are saying, "Hey, a little bit too much time on the golf course, Mr. President." I am not one of those, and neither is George W. Bush. It turns out he appeared yesterday on a show called In Play with Jimmy Roberts, and he was asked about President Obama's golfing schedule.
I see our president criticized for playing golf. I don't. I think he ought to play golf.
Well, all Bush did was play golf, so I understand why he's offended. I learned this weekend.
He was more about clearing brush, though. That was his favorite pastime, clearing brush.
Clearing brush.
Right. No, he divided his time between the golf and the brush. I learned at the book fair this weekend that Ike Eisenhower played golf 800 times during his presidency. No one said nothing. Gave us a decade of peace, and no one said nothing. Yeah. So please lay off.
Lay off him. In fact, that's what George Bush did. He said this is sort of like this is the one way the presidents escape.
I know what it's like to be in the bubble. And I know the pressures of the job, and to be able to get outside and play golf with some of your pals is important for the president. It does give you an outlet.
There's something about him you miss. No, there's
totally
him.
Totally.
There's some calming presence. Maybe it's the calm that he's not here anymore.
Brother, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
I do. It was it's fun to hear his voice again. Right?
Oh, there he is.
Man, good old days.
Any language, man. He
had it down.
All right. So Igor here to kick off the hour with us this morning, and then we'll be joined by Congressman David Cicilline from Rhode Island, and then by Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont, and Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies will be here as a friend of Bill. Igor will jump right into it, but first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just in time for breakfast, Bill, I have a couple of items that you might be hungry for. Modern Farmer magazine did a roundup of some of the best new fair foods across the country, and there are some doozies. Here's just a couple from around the country. Traditional glazed donut, grilled and served with a strawberry mint dipping sauce.
I had that this morning.
Homemade meatloaf, deep fried on a stick with red pepper wine glaze. That's in Minnesota. Chewy caramelized bacon pieces paired with a ricotta cheese filling filled in a cannoli. And this is disgusting. Preferred pickles, deep fried pickles dusted with powdered sugar and served with a side of chocolate for dipping, which, having been married to a pregnant woman, that can only sound good to a pregnant lady. The biggest seller all around the country was the double bacon corn dog, a fried bacon-wrapped hot dog, which is then bathed in a bacon-studded cornmeal crust and fried again. Double fried, double bacon corn dog you could get out there at the state fair.
Comes with a complimentary ambulance to the hospital.
Yes, exactly.
Now,
Speaking,
I had pickle soup for lunch yesterday.
Oh.
A cup of pickle soup.
I have never heard of that.
I had never heard of it either.
Where the hell do you get that?
I won't tell you where I got it.
Bill, but are you going to have it again?
But I would not order it again.
I was going to say, I've never heard of that. That sounds horrifying. Ew. Okay. All right. Speaking of gluttony, there's a new world's record for the world's largest cheesecake. At the 9th Annual Cream Cheese Festival in Lowville, New York, chefs created the Guinness Book of World Record-setting cake. It was created by Philadelphia Cream Cheese Company. It weighed 6,900 pounds.
Oh, my God.
90.25 inches in diameter and nearly 31 inches deep. That amounted to 24,533 servings. The previous record was Igor. Igor sounds like he's salivating. He's so hungry for it.
Love me some cheese.
The previous record was 4,703 pounds. Blew that out of the water.
And this one's 6,000?
6,900. So over 2,000 pounds
cheesecake, but it seems to me if you get that big, you've lost your quality.
Yeah. Probably. And from the sports desk, whoever thought it was a good idea to put the dominant Denver Broncos against the pathetic Oakland Raiders on Monday Night Football, they were wrong. Last night, Peyton Manning and the Broncos crushed the Raiders 37-21. Peyton Manning threw 32 for 37, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns, and now the Broncos have scored more points than any other team in the NFL with 127. in 3 games.
Whoa.
You do the math. The team with the second highest point total, the Packers, they're 30 points behind the Broncos, so they are crushing it so far in this NFL season.
All right, you got it. Well, Igor Volsky, so the House comes back tomorrow, the Senate back tomorrow officially, maybe today. I lost track of them. And we have 6 days left until the government will run out of money and, in effect, shut down.
Yeah, well, taking odds now on the chances of that happening.
Right. It looks like the chances have increased that this might happen. And what I know you've looked at this at Think Progress. What would a government shutdown mean?
Well,
what can people expect if it does shut down?
That's really the big question, and nobody really knows. The rule of thumb is all non-essential services are on hold. And right now you have in agencies across D.C. hours being wasted, not on the work of the agency, but wasted on writing memos and drafting all kinds of letters, trying to figure out which services will continue,
right,
which services will be put on hold, who goes home, and who needs to come in case of a government shutdown. And all of that costs a lot of money. The last government shutdown under Gingrich cost about $2 billion, more than $2 billion. And economists are saying...
Just to figure out, just to kind of...
Just all that extra time, all that strain that's put on the government, all of that combined. Also, of course, you have all the lost productivity because of all those workers are now furloughed. They're staying home. They're not contributing to the economy. They're losing dollars. That's a little harder to calculate, of course. Those are kind of indirect effects.
So let me ask you, for example, does the military, they don't just all drop their guns or something in Iraq, right?
No, that keeps going, is my understanding.
Do they still get paid?
The pay is where it gets tricky. There's some debate, and that's really what Democrats are saying is that and Republicans who fear this shutdown, who are not on Team Cruz, and Team Cruz is so small it could fit into that room over there. They're saying this thing is going to hit the fan for us politically when the first check doesn't come into the families who are here of the soldiers fighting overseas. So. Yeah, it's a big cost. It's a big cost for people, of course, who disproportionately depend on government. Those are the folks who are going to suffer the most.
So let's say the military, air traffic controllers stay on the job?
We would hope so.
So this is what they're trying to sort out.
This is what they're sorting out.
National parks.
Oh, that's the first to go. All the museums here in D.C., the national parks,
Smithsonian's
closed.
Boom,
Garbage collection in D.C. stops.
Why in D.C.?
I think it's funded through that appropriation.
Social security checks?
Social security checks, I believe, keep going. That's the one thing that's certain that keeps going.
That does keep going?
That does keep going, yeah. It's my understanding, yeah.
Right. Well, see, this is what this is where I think it's wrong. I think if they're going to shut the government down, then they should shut everything
feel
down.
The pain. Everyone feel the pain.
Oh, no, absolutely. Because that's what a real shutdown is. What the Republicans want is a shutdown that with no pain.
Yes. I think
but there will be pain. That's no doubt about it. But they want to shut them with the least amount of pain, just like they wanted the sequester. I think one of the dumbest things that Obama ever did, frankly, was when with the sequester, the FAA said we're going to have to have some cuts in TSA
deal, yeah,
and it means flight delays and everything. And President Obama said, no, we'll carve out an exception for TSA. The more exceptions they carve out, the worse it is.
Well, this is a slow burn where you begin cutting off some services, but if the shutdown continues long enough, that's where you get into a complete shutdown. And economists are saying any shutdown that's longer for 2 months, a big recession.
Well, I was going to say, then you have the impact, not just a direct impact of I'm a federal employee, I don't get paid, or I don't have to go to work, or I'm a tourist and I can't go. I come to Washington and the Smithsonian museums are closed. But then you've got all this government spending and all this productivity.
Things like interest rates and borrowing from the government,
which
all
shuts
of those
down,
services.
Which has to bring the economy crashing down, right?
Yes.
Which which is the worst possible impact. And the longer the shutdown lasts, the worse the impact on the economy.
Yeah, it certainly exacerbates, and that's why folks are saying we have 6 days if no deal is reached in 6 days. And I think things are looking better this morning than they did this weekend. And the reason is you have some of these big key Republicans in the Senate breaking ranks with Cruz, his fellow senator from Texas, the senior, we sometimes forget, the senior senator from Texas, John Cornyn, won't back this attempt to filibuster the House bill if it includes Obamacare funding. You have McConnell, who's up for re-election, says, no, I won't shut down the government. So it's unclear how many votes Mr. Cruz has at this point.
It's reported this morning that Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn are whipping votes against Ted Cruz.
It's a very small room, and it's running out of oxygen for him.
So it's Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, maybe the only two.
And I think Rubio.
Is Rubio part of it?
He put out a statement yesterday that sounded like he wasn't going to vote for any Obamacare money.
Rand Paul?
Rand Paul's against that, which surprised a lot of people. But he doesn't think that
what Ted Cruz
is doing. He doesn't think you can get there. You can't get there with the Senate. You can't get there with the president.
The way this is breaking down. What's really happening is Ted Cruz versus the world, just about.
The universe.
Yeah. And after the profile, which we talked about in the last hour in GQ magazine, where he called his fellow Republicans squishes and members of the Surrender Caucus. You mentioned to me, and I just read this op-ed in the Wall Street Journal this morning, where they said, we have never supported Obamacare, but this is not the way to go.
And they really called him out for what this really is about. This isn't about Obamacare or helping Americans. Please, this is about building lists, building a national profile, being what, as Ted Cruz sees himself, a great hero for a small number of people, the grassroots and the Tea Party. That's what he's after with all of this, and that's what he's going to get at the end of the day. If he fails, a very small group of people are going to see them as this great outsider crusader, and may give him a national platform to go somewhere from that.
Right. How extreme can you get? Look at Ted Cruz.
Exactly.
That's the answer. Igor Volsky with us from Think Progress. Government shutdown looming. Do you think Republicans are crazy enough to do it? 866-55-PRESS. And what about the Republican efforts to shut down Obamacare? How is Obamacare doing? What are the exchanges all about? We'll get into that when we come back here with Igor on this Tuesday edition of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech. Free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org. As a little incentive for joining us, here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal, we know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting again. You can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 25 minutes after the hour, Congressman David Cicilline will give us his take on the possibilities of a government shutdown right after the half-hour break here on the Bill Press Show. Right now in studio with us from Think Progress managing editor Igor Volsky. We've been talking about the shutdown and what it would mean, Igor. And the issue, again, as we talked just before the break, is Obamacare and the efforts of Republicans to stop Obamacare. The reason they're putting so much work behind it and so much pressure and such intensity right now is because a week from today...
7 days.
Right. It kicks in. Obamacare,
Boom,
right?
People can start going to healthcare.gov, enrolling in coverage. They'll have options in their state-based exchanges, different levels of coverage, more comprehensive coverage, less comprehensive coverage, and they'll really get to, for the first time, shop around. And here's really what's important.
So this is the opportunity. People who don't get health insurance, it's important to understand, if you've never been able to buy health insurance or you don't get it at your workplace, right, and you couldn't afford it, this is your shot.
This is your shot to find affordable coverage and to really compare, because it's been so hard for years in the non-employer market, what's called the individual market, to compare apples and oranges, because all these policies were designed by insurers to attract the healthiest and youngest people because they don't want to pay for the sick. And this is really the first time where insurers aren't going to be able to deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition. Won't be able to charge you so much more because of your age or your gender. And it's a real opportunity for people. They're going to have until March of next year to sign up for coverage, and then the coverage is going to start flowing on January 1st. And a lot of people have been asking, well, what does it mean for Obamacare if the government shuts down? Will Obamacare still work? And the good news is, and this is really underlines the absurdity of what Ted Cruz is doing, is that his efforts to defund Obamacare only touch Obamacare on the edges, because most of the funding for the pillars of Obamacare, the tax credits, all the regulations, is funded through entitlement spending, and that's not subject to yearly appropriations. So for the most part, if the government shuts down, it's going to be strained, but it should be okay come October 1st.
And that's a point that Senator from Tom Coburn from Oklahoma has
made.
Yeah.
This is...
That he said, I'd like to shut down Obamacare too, but Ted Cruz, the way you're doing it is not going to work. Yeah.
It's going to not work and cost politically.
Whole thing is nonsense. Find out more about it at thinkprogress.org. Thank you, Igor.
Thank you.
This
coming in, as
is
always.
the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, I hope you're enjoying the show today. And, of course, foreign policy is dominating the news these days, with the president very engaged, first of all, in trying to pursue this possibility of a deal with Syria and with Russia, whereby Syria would turn over its chemical weapons and they could be all destroyed by the middle of next year, 2014. At the same time, the president looking at the possibility of an opening with Iran, where we would lift the sanctions if Iran would abandon its push for a nuclear weapons program. Those two things would be huge victories for President Obama. That if he's able to achieve those two things, some kind of an agreement with Syria, which would also lead to the end of the civil war in Syria, and then some kind of agreement with Iran, in addition to ending the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, President Obama will deserve that Nobel Peace Prize that he won his first year. News on that, that's the kind of independent, truthful, transparent reporting you get here on Free Speech TV. We're really proud to be part of that. But of course, we need your help to keep bringing this kind of independent news to you. Free Speech gets no money from any corporations, no corporate advertising, no money from any government agencies, no money from any political parties. We depend on you, our viewers, to keep us on the air. And we ask you to be as generous as you can. Go to, give us a call at 877-378-8669 and give your pledge, 877-378-8669. Or you can go to freespeech.org. And as a special gift to you for helping us out, if you're able to give us $120 a year, that's only $10 a month. We'll give you a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio and left-wing talk radio, progressive talk radio, and why the conservatives have been able to dominate talk radio so far, what liberals have to do to get really in the game. If you can help us at $240 a year, that's $20 a month, a copy of Toxic Talk, and my next book, How the Republicans Stole Religion, all about the religious right, how they distorted the message of the gospel and pretend that they're the ones who own religion, and also showing you that God is the real number one liberal. And for $360 a month for this a year, $30 a month, copy of these two, plus my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and how they dominate American politics. So please help us out here at Free Speech TV. Proud to be part of the lineup and depend on your help. Thank you so much for keeping us on the air.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's 33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go, the Bill Press Show this Tuesday morning, September 24. Thank you for being with us as we boom out to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill. All across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk station, number one. And most importantly, your morning radio show. Also carried on Free Speech TV. Thank you for joining us, those of you watching on Free Speech TV, on the Dish Network or on DirecTV, and many of you more and more every day streaming the show live at our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. Congress coming back in session tomorrow. Today is September 24, 6 days before the government runs out of money, 6 days before Congress must act to keep it going or to shut it down. What's going to happen? Congressman David Cicilline joining us from Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District. Congressman, good to have you on the program again. Thank you.
Good morning, Bill. Great to be with you.
So what do you think, what chances would you give? I mean, are Republicans really dumb enough to shut the government down and determined enough?
I hope not, although all the indications are that's where they're headed. But I'm cautiously optimistic that in the very final moments, the Tea Party faction within the Republican caucus will understand that this is very bad for the American people, and they will pay a political cost for it, because I think for some of these folks, there's a calculation about what do their base voters want. And I think once they conclude that they will pay a political price if they shut the government down, my hope is that they will come to their senses and agree to a continuing resolution that keeps the government functioning. But it's hard to know, because there's a real civil war in the Republican Party, and we're watching it, and these are folks that are just committed to shutting down the government unless they get 100% of what they want. And, this has been sort of the problem for the last several years, a group of folks unwilling to reach compromise and find common ground and get things done for the American people.
Well, it seems, Congressman, watching it from a distance and not being right in the middle of it that you are, that for the Republican caucus, it is the tail wagging the dog here, right? Isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we see this on virtually every important issue that comes to the Congress. We have enough votes without a question to pass comprehensive immigration reform, a responsible farm bill, a transportation bill, even a budget, but for this small group within the Republican caucus that is running the show, that's sort of driving the agenda of the Republicans, and an unwillingness of the other Republicans to stand up and sort of speak out against it. But on all those bills, there would be enough Democrats, probably most Democrats, and enough Republicans to pass every one of those bills, but the Speaker will not bring them to the floor because of this adherence to this Hastert rule, which is actually not a rule but just a practice, that says I won't bring a bill to the floor unless a majority of my caucus support it. And this is a democracy. If a majority of the members of Congress are for it, we should be passing this stuff.
Yeah, I know. We don't see that democracy in the House because of the Hastert rule. We don't see it in the Senate because of the filibuster. So,
I mean, and it's very, when you're serving there and you know that on all of these issues, there are compromise bills that would pass the House if only they were brought to the floor. I mean, that's the frustrating part. But I think the Speaker has to come to terms with building a governing coalition with the Democrats and, sort of write off this really extreme portion of his caucus and prove to the American people that we can get things done. And I think he will benefit from that in the long term, even politically. But I think he's just unwilling to do it, and he's allowing this small faction to really dictate the direction of his caucus. And I think it's bad for the Republicans, but more importantly, it's bad for our country.
Walk us through the steps, if you can, Congressman, when Congress is back in town this week. So the House has already passed its version of the budget, continuing resolution. Now, what happens when you come back and goes to it's the ball's in the Senate's court now, and then
that's right. And the Senate will. I think the presumption is the Senate will strip out the provisions that defund health care reform and send that back to the House.
And then?
And my guess is they'll send it back to the House late enough that House members will be in a position to either vote for it in its current form or shut the government down. And so I think that's going to be the test.
Whoa. And will that go before the full body, the full House?
Yes.
I guess it has to, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But, I mean, the American people are watching this, and, people are still struggling in a very difficult economy. It's still very high levels of unemployment, and, in my district and in other places around the country. We're still dealing with the ravages of the housing crisis and, so many important challenges. And, they're watching this play out again and thinking, can't these folks on the House side get anything done? And it's very frustrating. I think the Republicans are going to pay a price for it. And just to remind your listeners, part of the reason we're in this problem is we don't have a budget. Why don't we have a budget? We passed a budget on the House side, a terrible budget as far as I'm concerned, authored by Paul Ryan. The Senate passed a budget on their side. The normal process is it goes to conference committee, so you can work out the disagreements, reach a compromise, and pass a budget. The Speaker has refused to appoint conferees, so that process can continue. And the reason, I suspect, is when you have a conference committee, it's televised, and it would require the Republicans in the House to actually go and defend the Ryan budget, which I don't think they ever expected would really become the law of the land, so they don't want to defend it. They thought it would be very useful to send out emails about it and appeal to their Tea Party base about how draconian it is. But they don't want to be on TV defending it because it's indefensible. So we don't have a conference committee to actually enact a budget. And so this is the consequence of it, while we're doing continuing resolution to continuing resolution.
And by the way, which the president keeps pointing out, this is the constitutional responsibility of the Congress.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like the most important responsibility we have is to pass a budget. And, Leader Pelosi appointed her conferees to the conference committee so that they make the point, we're ready to go. But the Speaker has so far refused to appoint conferees. And it's a real dereliction of duty. I mean, this is how we enact a budget. And, look, the Republicans supported that budget. They ought to go in a room and either acknowledge it's not the right budget for our country or defend it. But the American people have a right to have a budget enacted by the Congress.
Let me ask you, so the issue here, of course, and you mentioned a couple of times we have, is Obamacare, right, which that's what we all call the Affordable Care Act now. These exchanges, a week from today, people can sign up in these health exchanges, those who do not get health insurance at their workplace. What are the prospects in Rhode Island? Are the exchanges going to be open, and are the rates affordable? What can you tell us about that?
I'm very proud of the work that's being done in our state. Our governor, our lieutenant governor, Elizabeth Roberts, Christy Ferguson, a great healthcare leader in our country, have been really leading the charge here, and we have lots of exciting work being done, and I think Rhode Island will end up being a model to the country in terms of the implementation of Obamacare and the development of the exchanges. We're doing a lot of exciting work on payment reform and ways that we can really bend the cost curve on health care. But this notion that providing 30 million more Americans with access to quality health care and closing the donut hole for our seniors, being sure that there are no lifetime caps on insurance, ending discrimination against people because of pre-existing conditions, and letting young people stay on their parents' plan until they're 26 are all things that are overwhelmingly supported by the American people. And I think this is going to be one of those things, this is a major transformation of our healthcare system, and we should not expect that it's going to go perfectly. There will be some bumps in the road, but I think that we will look back at, in the very near future and say, this is like Medicare and Social Security. It's one of the great things we did to ensure everyone has access to quality, affordable health care. And I think we're going to all be very proud of the results of that. And we have to be prepared to look at it, and if there needs to be some tweaks or some modifications to improve it, we should be prepared to do it. And that's what we should have been doing for the last 3 years, kind of figuring out how is it being implemented, is it really working right, and make the changes if there need to be any. But instead, we've had 44 or 43 votes to gut it or repeal it. So we don't have willing partners on the other side that want it to be successful for the American people. So we've spent 3 years with votes to just repeal it rather than working together in a bipartisan way to implement it to make sure it works for the American people.
And that's the premium's going to be affordable in Rhode Island as well?
I think that we're going to find that over time the costs we're going to bend the cost curve. I think we're seeing some early evidence around the country of the premiums being lower. And don't forget, many of people who will now access the exchanges will have a subsidy from the government which is a really important provision, so it should be affordable to many more people who are currently without health care.
Well, it's critical, and as you know, Congressman, the reason Republicans are so desperate to stop it now is because once more and more people sign up with these exchanges, right, it's going to be less and less likely they're going to be able to ever get rid of Obamacare.
Right. Well, did you read Eugene Robinson today? Said the real danger of Obamacare is it's going to be successful. That's the real danger of the Republicans.
I know. Yeah. Well, when you get back here, you'll have your full plate and lots of challenges, Congressman. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it so
pleasure,
much.
Bill.
All right.
Be
David
well.
Cicilline does a great job representing 1st District of the people of Rhode Island.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news like and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah. What the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spend just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you. All right, 12 minutes ago, before the top of the hour, Tuesday, September 24, the Bill Press Show, coming to you live here on your local progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV and streaming to you live at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. President Obama he's at the United Nations. He will speak to the General Assembly today. We'll give you the rest of his schedule here at the end of the hour. Yesterday, he took time out to call the president of Kenya. This horrific story there of the terrorist rushing into a shopping mall, a very upscale shopping mall. That has been going on now for 3 days. The latest reports are that all the hostages have been released, but some of the terrorists are still holed up there, and the army is trying to they've got them pinned down, but the huge exchange of gunfire. Some of them all still held by the hostages. The government insists, though, that the situation is under control, but they leave behind some 62 dead, who knows how many wounded. The latest is that there were maybe up to 15 people from foreign nations who were part of this terrorist group, including 3 Americans.
Yeah, some from America.
Don't know all the details yet. But the president did say, he called the president of Kenya yesterday and pledged our sympathy and our support for the people there.
I want to once again express publicly my sympathy for what's happening there and pledging continued U.S. support in response.
And the president said there will be a lot of rebuilding to do, but we will support that effort as well.
We will provide them with whatever law enforcement support that is necessary, and we are confident that Kenya, which has been a pillar of stability in Eastern Africa, will rebuild.
By the way, the president yesterday at the United Nations was talking to one of the officials up at the UN and mentioned that, gee, I understand that you quit smoking. Well, I did too. I haven't had a cigarette, the president said, in 6 years. It's a little hard to hear him here, but right toward the end, he tells why he hasn't had a cigarette in 6 years. He says it's because I'm afraid of my wife.
No, I that's because I'm scared of my wife.
That's because I'm scared of my wife.
Because I'm scared of my wife, yeah.
I mean, Michelle, yeah, that makes sense.
Michelle cracking the whip there, baby. Yeah, indeed.
It's a lot easier to quit if you have some sort of an addiction when you have somebody else, especially if you can sort of shift the blame to them and not make it about you, because you're not the one with the problem. They have the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've seen those arms on Michelle?
I mean, hell, I'm scared of her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you, more and more people are not scared of Ted Cruz. He has tried to throw his weight around. We've been talking about him off and on this morning because as the Congress comes back into session today and tomorrow, and the focus is on government shutdown and over Obamacare, the whole play now has shifted to the United States Senate, where Ted Cruz is saying, no, we cannot pass a budget, we cannot pass a continuing resolution unless we entirely defund Obamacare, taking the same position that the conservative Tea Party caucus did in the House of Representatives. And Ted Cruz is finding that he is standing alone among his fellow Republicans. Even Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn, the senior senator from Texas, are whipping votes against Ted Cruz. But Ted Cruz told reporters yesterday, here he is, that he would even be willing to filibuster, if necessary, to stop any funding for Obamacare.
I will do everything necessary and anything possible to defund Obamacare.
A filibuster?
Yes, and anything else.
Filibuster? Yes. And anything else. Well, Eric Burns, our good friend from Bullfight Strategies, is a Texan, and he knows Ted Cruz and knows his territory down there, and he'll tell us more and more about this evil Ted Cruz at the top of the next hour here on the Bill Press Show. And I'll be back and tell you what the president's got on the schedule today up in New York City at the United Nations.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? You know, we have a third hour coming up, but unfortunately we disappear from Free Speech TV. That doesn't mean you can't watch us. You can just shift over to your computer, watch the video stream at TawkrTV. You go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. Joining us in the next hour is a friend of Bill for the entire hour, our good buddy Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies. And then we'll be joined by the one and only, the great, the most liberal person in the United States Senate, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know, you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 3 minutes before the top of the hour. In the next hour, Eric Burns from Bullfight Strategies will be here as a friend of Bill, and we'll be joined by Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont. President Obama with a busy day-to-day up in New York City. Most of it up until about 4 o'clock this afternoon at the United Nations. He begins the day by addressing the General Assembly at 10:10 this morning. The First Lady will be there with him. And then the President has a series of meetings, meeting with John Ash, President of the United Nations General Assembly, then a meeting with the President of the Republic of Lebanon, a meeting with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, then attends a luncheon hosted by Ban Ki-moon. After lunch, he will meet with the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Moves over then to the Clinton Global Initiative, where President Obama and President Clinton will both talk about the importance of Obamacare and healthcare reform and encourage people to sign up for the health exchanges. Then the president goes back to the Waldorf Astoria, where he spent the night last night for a reception for the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, after which he will leave back here to Washington, arriving back at the White House at 11 o'clock at night. Tired and exhausted. Probably take tomorrow off.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
In just a couple of hours, President Obama will be speaking to the United Nations General Assembly, calling on them to support a resolution demanding that Syria give up all of its chemical weapons. Good morning, everybody. Tuesday, September 24. Here we go. It is the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station. So good to have you with us this morning. Thank you for joining us and being part of the conversation. We're also, you can stream the show, not just listen to the show. If you go to your computer there and youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. Join us on TawkrTV. Get in the chat room at TawkrTV if you want, but be part of the conversation. And the way to do so, you can give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Your comments on the news of the day. I know your opinions, well, every bit as important as anything I've got to say about the issue, so I want to hear from you. Or you can also send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Sometimes there are people whose comments are so important, we actually invite them into the studio to join us. And if they're really valuable, then we invite them in as a friend of Bill for the entire hour. Eric Burns.
Hey, man, how are you?
You got the FOB hat.
I do.
Today,
and
right?
and in some cases, when those people aren't available, you call me to come in and fill in, right? And I appreciate that. I really do.
Really important people that we have lined up, and then we have Eric.
And then we have Eric, which is great.
Head of Bullfight, co-head of Bullfight Strategies. It's nice to see you. Thank you. For coming.
Great to see you, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Your sidekick, Carl Frisch, was here last week.
I know he was. He was telling me about it.
We keep Bullfight on the national.
I like that. Well, you know what? On the left, we need to be a little tougher. That's why we named the firm Bullfight Strategies, because we're all about not getting kicked in the teeth all the time by guys like Ted Cruz.
Yes, yeah, and that's what Democrats have to learn. Our team here, one man down this morning. Peter Ogburn is running the whole operation.
Hi there.
Chief cook.
I'm here.
And bottle washer and everything else.
Yes, indeed.
Dan Henning's got the week off. We think he's at the Oktoberfest. We haven't tracked him down yet.
No one knows where Dan is.
No,
this is kind of like when he got married.
Yeah,
that's right.
No one knew where he was.
That's right. Well, that's just because we weren't invited.
That's just because none of us were invited.
The last we saw Dan
I'm
was
still
wearing.
hurt by that.
Last we saw Dan was wearing lederhosen and had his thumb up on the corner there. So I think he was hitching a ride.
Nice.
Alicia Cruz has the phones covered, and you know what? I just say, when you go away from here, when you're not here, it's open season.
Oh, yeah.
Just like we make fun of Peter when he's gone, just what everybody does. It's open season.
Absolutely.
Except when I'm gone.
No, of course not.
And when you've been gone, Bill, and I've come in, we've never made fun of you, ever.
Thanks for covering those tracks, buddy. Thank you, Eric.
And Peter Ogburn, never.
That's
never.
True.
Cyprian Bowling has us looking good on the video cam. Cyprian never.
He's doing what he can with what he's got to work with. He
never takes the day off, right? Hey, so big secret popped out last night from Paul McCartney. He was on with Jimmy Kimmel. There have been rumors for ever, right, that there was this special track that the Beatles laid down once. What is it called?
Carnival of Light, I think
Carnival
it is.
of
Carnival of Light.
Carnival of Light. Yeah, rumors that there was this one recording that they would never release.
And there's this whole myth, and it's become this legend that they all got
really hammered,
extremely stoned. And they all just started playing. Right, they were all dead. They all just started playing this jam that went 15 minutes long. And,
really?
And it's just been this rumor that it was there.
Last night on Jimmy Kimmel, for the first time, Paul McCartney admitted it does exist.
Really?
There's one or two things, but one that sort of deep fans keep requesting is a thing called Carnival of Light. But it's very far out.
I think we can handle it. I really do.
Far out for 15 minutes?
Yeah, we'll just do a bunch of drugs and go crazy like the old days.
For 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That's very unlike the Beatles. It's more like the Grateful Dead.
That's right.
Pink Floyd in the early days, But you got to think that...
I'd love to hear it, though. It would be wild.
It would be great. But the Beatles they've got to have a ton of those recordings. Come on. I mean, they have to have a ton of those. I feel like that's just my personal opinion.
They have milked... I mean, it's been so long. I mean, they've put out so much more material since they broke up. This is one thing that I'm not sure if I actually want to hear.
I know this.
I want to hear it for sure. They were so prolific when they were together. They were only together for 10 years, and look at how much music they put out.
I know this sounds like name dropping, but Peter knows. I spent some time this weekend here in Washington with Linda Ronstadt, who was in town for the Smithsonian Book Fair, who's a friend from California days, and I think one of the greatest pop singers of all time. One of the greatest performers of all time. And I read her book, Simple Dreams, which is a wonderful book. But they really worked on these songs and perfecting these and learning these songs from each other. She talked about getting together with like Emmylou Harris and Dolly Parton and Don Henley and Graham Nash and Jackson Browne. And she told me she's got a recording in her apartment one night where Jackson Browne was teaching her how to sing.
Wow.
Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me, and Blue Bayou.
That's incredible.
And they're going over the songs, and he's saying, no, your phrasing here is a little off for the whole thing. I'd love to hear that.
Wouldn't that be? I love those kind of
incredible. Yeah.
I love those sets, and you get them occasionally where they're in the studio and they break and they talk about it. I think people have this whole idea now that with like the Britney Spears sensation that everything's manufactured and no one really cares about the craft, but that's not true. I mean, there are many artists out there like Linda Ronstadt, like the Beatles, Jackson Browne, who are passionate about this. This was their lives.
Right, and they learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
To each other. So at 12 minutes after the hour, Senator Bernie Sanders is going to join us at the half hour, our good friend from the state of Vermont. So, Eric, one of the reasons that we love having you in is because you're from Texas.
Yes, sir, I am indeed.
You were a Republican at one time. You even worked for Rick Perry. We will never let you forget that.
No, you will not, Bill, that's for sure.
So when we come to crazy ass Texans, we think, who can talk about Eric Burns? Tell us what's up with Ted Cruz.
I am your crazy ass Texan correspondent.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
He is a crazy ass Texan. I mean, Ted Cruz is a frightening individual, and I don't recall Ted Cruz being really in the Texas political scene when I was there. From kind of for most of the '90s, but he clearly, I think he was up here getting his resume padded. As he apparently is so proud of, and has just kind of like, not come out of nowhere, but come back, been created out of this establishment, this very powerful Republican establishment that the ground zero for it really is in Texas. I mean, Karl Rove's from Texas. A lot of the engineers, Dick Armey, Tom DeLay, the engineers of the modern Republican Party are from Texas. Cruz is a product of that, but he is not one of even those guys. We can be pretty extreme. Ted Cruz is a different breed. I mean, I think he terrifies John Cornyn. I think he terrifies Republicans from Texas.
Well, it seems that his goal is to alienate as many Republicans as he can. I mean, he has called first of all, John McCain called him and Mike Lee wacko birds, right?
Yes.
So he has called his fellow Republican squishes. He says they're members of the Surrender Caucus, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's done everything he can to sort of embarrass them. He said also in this GQ article, which is a profile, which is out yesterday, that he doesn't know any conservative who was not embarrassed to vote for president in 2008. Now, let's see. Who was the Republican nominee for president in 2008? Yeah, John McCain.
Not very good Senate politics if you're going to be an effective senator for the state of Texas, which folks listening in Texas should remember that.
Yeah. So now he's lining up. He wants to get all of his Republican senators behind him to filibuster funding for Obamacare as part of the continuing resolution. He's not finding many Republicans to stand up with him.
This just drives me crazy. I have to say this. This is a guy who gets up and he is just lamblasts everybody. He's bombastic. He was on the Senate floor of all people lamenting the other day. That this town has a tendency towards brinksmanship, and I'm like, seriously, that actually just came out of Ted Cruz's mouth. He's literally like a one-man wrecking crew when it comes to potentially with what we're facing with our economy and our government and what he is fighting against Obamacare is essentially a market-based solution to a national crisis, to a national healthcare crisis, that in the long run, there is no question, it is going to save money, it's going to create jobs. We know this. Economists know this, the CBO knows this, and Ted Cruz knows this. He's too smart, he's too well educated, he may be crazy, but he's not, he's lying. Mm-hmm. And so every time he opens his mouth and rails against Obamacare or appears on one of these commercials that they're running all over the place, it is pure politics. He wants to deny health care to your grandmother, to your mother, just so he can score political points for himself, not even for the Republican Party.
Here is, on your point, Ted Cruz yesterday talking about Obamacare and the danger of Obamacare. And again, I think he's lying through his teeth.
Americans all over this country are suffering because of Obamacare. It is the single biggest job killer in America. Single biggest
Job killer in America.
Hasn't even been implemented yet.
Right.
It's already killing jobs.
Some parts of it have, but the real meat of it kicks in January 1. The exchanges, in order to start getting health care January 1, are available as of a week from today.
That's right.
October 1.
That's right.
But that gets to the point which I made a little earlier on the program. I believe that the reason that Republicans are like Ted Cruz and the Tea Party Republicans in the House are so determined to try to defund Obamacare now is that if indeed 30 million people start taking advantage of these health exchanges, then they know.
Yes.
They know that Obamacare will be there forever.
That's right. And it will be. And God knows.
They're afraid.
They're terrified.
They're against it not because they feel it'll fail. They're against it because they fear it will succeed. And when it does succeed, they'll start trying to call it Reagan Care, and they'll start trying to take credit. And I have to give that. That was David Weigel's line. Is that right?
But, yeah. But there's a truth to that, because ultimately the plan that President Obama used was a conservative plan. I think it was the Heritage Foundation's plan. It is a market-based solution to our healthcare problems, and I think it's going to be a very, very effective one over time. And they want to see government fail. And so we've talked about this before. Would you put a CEO in charge of a company that wants that company to fail? No American, no insane American ever would agree to that. So why do we keep electing? I'm talking to my friends in Texas. Why do we keep electing senators who want to see every government fail at all costs, even if it costs your family?
But you see, this is with Ted Cruz and the rest. This is the last gasp, as I see it. They tried to defeat the Affordable Care Act in the Congress, lost. It passed. The president signed it into law 3.5 years ago. Then they tried to take it all the way. They did. Took it all the way to the Supreme Court to try to kill it. Guess what? The Supreme Court upheld it. The Roberts Supreme Court upheld it. They made this the issue in 2012 for the election. So it was basically a referendum on President Obama and Obamacare.
And they lost.
The American people, they lost there. So they've lost this is their last shot.
Yeah,
their last shot.
Well, that, and they're pursuing nullifications and lawsuits in the states, which is just going to cost money. It's like the 40 some odd votes that they've taken in the House to defund Obamacare, over the last year, instead of actually solving the problems of the country. How many millions of dollars does that cost taxpayers? Ted Cruz is up here wasting the taxpayers' money, and he knows they have no end game. The end game for Ted Cruz is Ted Cruz. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I see Ted Cruz sticking around the Senate very long. He's making too many enemies on his own side. This is a guy who has kind of a Sarah Palin-ish fetish and a need to be famous and a need to be in the limelight.
Well, yeah, interesting you should say that, because the only Republican that I know, other than maybe Mike Lee from Utah, although Mike Lee kind of, they're blood brothers, but at the same time, Mike Lee keeps a little distance from Ted Cruz. Marco Rubio certainly does now.
Yeah,
Rand Paul.
I mean, what do you have to do to get Rand Paul and Marco Rubio?
But the one who stands up and the one who defended Ted Cruz is Sarah Palin.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
There you go. And I think she attacked Fox News in the process.
866-55-PRESS, the toll-free number. Join the conversation. So we are right on the brink of a vote on the government shutdown, all about Obamacare. Do you think Republicans can succeed? How can we stop them? And what about Ted Cruz? 866-55-77-377.
This is the Bill Press Show. Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, you got it. 25 minutes after the hour now here, the Bill Press Show on a Tuesday morning. Senator Bernie Sanders joining us at the half. Love Bernie Sanders. Wish there were 100 Bernie Sanders in the United States Senate. Eric Burns here from Bullfight Strategies as a friend of Bill this hour. Peter, you had a little item we needed to get in?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw this in because after we saw the two new models of iPhone that were released last week, we saw the 5C.
Did you get a new one?
Which are the version of the iPhone with the colors, and then the 5S. We sort of let out a collective meh, not that impressive. Meh. Yeah, especially if you already have a 5, there's no reason to upgrade. Well, it shows what we know. Apple sold 9 million iPhones over the weekend.
Yeah.
It is the largest iPhone event that they've ever had, and they are just flying off the shelves. Yes.
The largest ever.
And what's interesting is that I'm surprised they made a new software, an entirely new operating system available for the iPhone 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I
downloaded.
I feel like I have a new iPhone.
Exactly. If you have an old one, you feel like you have a new one.
And so it's going to probably delay me from going and buying a new one for a while. But it's actually like the one nice thing. I had to change all my cords out, which I'm still irritated about getting the iPhone 5. At least now, I've got a new. It feels like I've got a new phone. I have to go spend $600 to get.
Yeah, but is it gold, Eric? You got to get one of those.
It
gold
should be
iPhones.
for what. It should be for what you pay for it. My God.
Exactly.
Can you just trade it in? Do I have any?
You can't trade it in with Apple, but what a lot of people do, what one of my friends is doing is
I can trade in a car. I get something from my used car when I buy a new car.
You can't do it at Apple, but you can sell it on your own, and people pay a lot of money for it, because if you're out of contract or you're not in the period where you can upgrade, it will cost you $600 to get a phone. So if you've got one of those $600 phones and you sell it for $300, I mean, I've seen them going for $400, then someone feels like they're getting a deal, and then you get the money to put down on a new phone.
And Peter Ogburn is more than willing to take those orders from folks.
Listen, folks, if you want to buy my wonderful iPhone 5,
he's got a truck full of iPhones that he just found.
Let me tell you, I'll throw in a Bill Press mug while we're at it.
Kidding.
Well.
Don't sell your iPhone. Sell mine first.
Yeah.
You got it, boss.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, where did that time go? Hey, boys, we're having too much fun here. When we come back, we'll talk to Bernie Sanders. And then, Eric, I want to talk to you about what really bugs me lately is the media. The way the media is handling... First of all, the way the media did not do anything about the Navy Yard shooting.
Yes.
You were close to.
Yes.
And also how the media is handling this shutdown, almost painting both parties responsible for what's happening, when in fact that is not the case.
Let's do it.
Do that and a whole lot more here on the Full Court Press.
Is the Bill Press Show. is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour now on Tuesday, September 24. It is the Bill Press Show, and we're coming to you live all the way across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station and video streaming on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Eric Burns is in studio with us as a friend of Bill this entire hour. Eric, always good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Bill. I appreciate it.
The members of the House and the Senate will be coming back to Washington with a lot on their plate this week and a big challenge. 6 days from now is when the government runs out of money. There will either be a continuing resolution to keep it going or government will shut down. Senator Bernie Sanders, our good friend and my former boss, I was his intern for a year, joins us on Newsline from the great state of Vermont. Hey, Senator, good morning.
Good to be with you, Bill.
I bet you haven't had as good an intern as you had when I was working with you, right?
You're right, Bill. These kids just can't get the coffee. It takes a mature adult to do it, and we've been missing you ever since.
That's right.
I've heard that the senator runs around saying, you're no Bill Press in the office to the young interns. I don't know.
Senator, what do you think the chances are now that there will be some resolution of this and avoid a government shutdown?
Well, I think I very much hope that will be the case, because the shutdown makes the United States look incredibly stupid throughout the entire world, and it's going to cause a lot of harm for our people. And it just makes every American ask what in God's name is going on in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the Republicans understand that after trying to defund Obamacare on 40 separate occasions, after running a presidential election on defunding Obamacare, among other things, and losing that election, that is not what the American people want. That if you want to, if you have a political point of view and you have legislation you want to introduce, that's fine. But just because you can does not mean you should bring down and shut down the entire United States government because you want to defund a particular piece of legislation, which happens to be the major piece of legislation passed by President Obama.
Well, Senator, the one who seems to be carrying that House Republican cause in the Senate, of course, is Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. What do your colleagues tell you? Is he getting much support even from his fellow Republicans?
Well, I think there are a lot of Republicans who understand that this is very bad politics for them. That they understand that this is not what the American people want, that you have some leaders in the Republican Party who have made that very, very clear. But I think the more important point, Bill, is to understand that right now our country is hurting. That we have just a recent Census Bureau report came out that incredibly, you may have seen it, talked about median family income today less than it was 24 years ago. We've got an increase in poverty, and the idea of punishing millions and millions of Americans by radically cutting back on food stamps, by radically cutting back on the needs of people who are on the Meals on Wheels program, people who are in child care, is absolutely crazy. I think these folks are going off the deep end. I know that it makes sense to a small minority of Americans who vote in Republican primaries, but I think some of the leaders of the party understand this does not make sense for America.
I'm glad you went there. I have had that in my notes to ask you about, because I thought if anybody in the Senate would have been aware of those numbers and sense the urgency of doing something about it. Here's what I don't understand, Senator. So it showed that 15% of Americans are living in poverty today. Some 50 million people. It also, as you pointed out, the average American family today is making less money than they were making in 1989. But nobody's talking about that, Senator, except for you.
Well, I'm talking about it a whole lot. Look, this is what's going on, economically. We had the great Wall Street crash of 5 years ago, and the result of that was horrendous. We were losing about 700,000 jobs a month. Are we in better shape today than we were 5 years ago? We were. But, Bill, what is important to understand is that the long-term trends in this country are toward a disappearing middle class. More people today living in poverty than has ever lived in poverty. It's 26.5 million people. And meanwhile, the people on top are doing phenomenally well. So almost all of the new income in the last few years, 95% of the new income, if you can believe this, has gone to the top 1%. Can you believe that?
Senator, this is Eric Burns. I just want to ask you a follow-up question on that last point. I mean, do you think it's fair to say that when the middle class is suffering, when the working class is suffering, that drags down the entire economy, of the United States, that it really hurts the whole, or is it just hurting those folks?
Well, it is. When you look at what the economy is, the vast majority of the people are in the middle class. They're in the working class, and they are really getting beaten up pretty badly. And in the midst of all of this, this is not like an earthquake that has hit everybody. This is an economic process which has decimated the vast majority of the people, while the people on top are doing phenomenally well. So you now have the United States seeing more and more inequality in terms of wealth and income. Let me just throw out one statistic, Bill, that the listeners should know. Top 1% in America now own 38% of the wealth of our country. Do you know what the bottom 60% own? 2.3%.
No. I was going to say 5%. That's terrible.
Whoa.
I mean, and that income and wealth inequality is just growing wider and wider. So in the midst of all of that, our right-wing Republican friends say, okay, well, poverty is increasing. The solution must be to cut back on food stamps by almost $40 billion over a 10-year period, which will drive 4 million more Americans into poverty. The solution must be to maintain sequestration, which will cost us about 900,000 jobs in a year. The solution must be to continue forcing federal employees in the FBI, among many other agencies, to take furloughs. I mean, it is just a continuation of a war on working families, and we have got to fight back and say this is not acceptable.
We're talking to Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont on our news line this morning here on the Bill Press Show. Senator, the focus of the shutdown attempt this week, of course, is over defunding Obamacare. I want to play a quick clip for you of what Senator Ted Cruz, we mentioned him before, from Texas yesterday, said about Obamacare.
Americans all over this country are suffering because of Obamacare. It is the single biggest job killer in America.
Obamacare, a job killer, Senator?
No, that's total nonsense. And, here's what you got. You have in America today 48 million people, Bill, who have no health insurance at all. No health insurance at all.
Right.
What is the Republican plan to address that problem? They have none. There is none.
Yeah.
There is Obamacare.
Didn't we pass it?
They don't have one.
Yeah.
They have nothing. So in other words, 48 million people have no health insurance. We lose, according to a Harvard study of a few years ago, I think the number was over 35,000 people every single year who die because they don't get to a doctor on time. We pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. What's their solution? They have nothing. Mm-hmm. So you can argue, as I do, Obamacare is certainly not perfect. I'm a supporter of a Medicare for all single-payer system. But it is a step forward. Providing health insurance for 20 million more Americans is not insignificant. Doing away with the obscenity of pre-existing conditions, where you can't get insurance because you have had a serious disease, is totally insane. We've gotten rid of that. Making sure that young people can stay on their parents' health insurance is a step forward. Investing in community health centers,
sure,
as the Affordable Care Act is important. So, it is an important step forward. Should we make it better? Yeah. But do you defund it? No, that's totally absurd.
And isn't, Senator, the reality that those opponents, I remember you and I had several conversations at the time about disappointed that there's not a public plan option, disappointed we didn't have single payer on the table. But now that we got Obamacare, so Republicans tried to stop it in the Congress, and they failed. They tried to stop it in the Supreme Court, and they failed. As you pointed out at the beginning of our conversation this morning, they tried to stop it in 2012, and they failed. So this is like their last attempt, really, right, to shut down Obamacare.
It is. but it is really, I mean, if you look at the political process, if you look at the legislative process, I mean, you just don't do this. There are ways to deal with legislation, and they have tried on 42 occasions to defund Obamacare, and they have lost. It is not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're seeing is a bullyish mentality of really saying, if I can't get my way, I'm going to bring down the whole government. That's all. And that is just a very, very dangerous way to be running the most powerful government in the world.
It's really very anti-democratic because this was debated for a year. It was passed by both houses. It was signed by the president. It's the law of the land. We shouldn't even be talking about this anymore.
No, that's right. It is. It is. I mean, it's just using. They control the House of Representatives.
Senator, can I ask you really quickly, if we have Republicans who are successful in shutting down the government, are our troops in Afghanistan and Iraq going to be getting paid their paychecks, or are they going to be putting their lives on the line and their families are not getting paid if there is a government shutdown?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know that we don't know the answer to that. I suspect that is something the administration is working on right now. There are ways you could juggle around funds. But it perhaps could be delaying the checks that these folks get. I don't know that anyone knows the definitive answer to that. But it is going to cause enormous pain for whole lots of people, I suspect, in the military and outside of it.
Well, let's hope we can avoid that. Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for your time this morning, Senator. As always, great to talk to you.
Okay, Bill. Thank you. Take care.
Bernie Sanders, nobody better in the United States Senate than the good senator from Vermont. He knows his facts and
absolutely,
and he speaks his mind. Eric Burns here is a friend of.
This.
There's a terrible hostage crisis. Need to stop their quote bickering. Right? God help it. No,
we're obligated under.
It's reckless, guys. They're hurting their credit rating. What do we have a media for in this country?
Let the American people know who is responsible and not try to make it, equal, both sides equally to blame. And with that, Eric Burns, out of time. Great to have you in, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
We're back again. You and Carl Frisch, Bullfight Strategies, and I'll be back with today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, of course, you've heard about the big mess in Washington these days. House Republicans voting to defund Obamacare, even insisting they'll shut down the whole government if necessary to stop Obamacare. We've been talking about that all morning. But it's important to understand what this is all about. Republicans are not upset because Obamacare is so bad. They're upset because it's so good. Already, in the 3 years since it's been the law of the land, millions of Americans have been helped by Obamacare. Kids no longer denied coverage because of a pre-existing condition. Older parents staying on their parents' health plan until they're 26. Insurance companies no longer able to dump somebody just because they get a serious illness. And now it's going to get even better because just 1 week from today, October 1, Americans in all 50 states who don't have health insurance through their job will be able to buy into a plan through health exchanges for basic coverage with a wide choice of doctors at rates far below what they would pay insurance companies today. That's what Republicans are trying to block. That's why they're so desperate, because once those exchanges kick in, there will be no stopping Obamacare. So spread the word, folks. Tell people to sign up for the health exchange. Obamacare is great. Let's keep it going. We'll keep it going tomorrow morning with Norm Ornstein from American Enterprise, and also for Sister Simone Campbell from Nuns on the Bus. Have a great Tuesday. See you back here again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.